I felt like I was watching Lord of the Rings already. I said, considering, welcome to our Westfox review of Lord of the Rings, Star Trek edition. Welcome back. It has been a couple
You know what?
days.
I'm going to grab my pipe.
Okay.
No, I'm just teasing you. I'm hungry. It's time to record a dang video.
It is time to wait.
Recording.
It's been too long. We are sorry. I was working and it was a crazy event. Then I was on my honeymoon, but we're back. Watching episode 4 of Picard titled Absolute Candor, which didn't really even apply to the plot on the level of what that title meant. Anyway, revealed a lot. This episode revealed a lot to me. First, I now understand that this show and the people working on it actually have no desire to work on Star Trek. They actually really want to chase after shows and work on Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. And plunder the story structure of Game of Thrones, the really fast jumping around to massive stories and having really short scenes in different areas, and obviously adult themes with it, such as sex, swearing a lot,
Incest.
They love the incest.
More
They
incest.
love incest in the show for some reason. Also creepy relationship stuff. And they're pillaging a lot of the creative choices of Lord of the Rings. The entire settlement of Rivendell in this episode is such a ripoff. It's actually kind of boggles my mind that they're like, should we rip this off? No, we shouldn't rip this off this hard. So we are, and also,
it was Mexican Village, Rivendell.
Secondly, I've also learned that these writers and producers don't understand a few crucial things. And one of those crucial things is that Romulans are not elves. They believe that they are elves because the pointy ears, they actually think that they're elves. And no, Romulans are not elves. For some reason...
I didn't know we were going here. Oh my God.
I know. No, wait, just ready, Christopher. That's why we didn't tell you this stuff we were going to tell you, because we wanted to get your reaction on this because it's so good. So we start this episode in Rivendell, and we get to meet a young Elrond Jr. And he's living among the Daughters of Legolas. Because I didn't know if you knew this. So we're in the city of the elves with the Daughters of Legolas and Elrond Jr. And we start out with this setup scene kind of showing Picard dealing with these people in the past, and that moves into the present day. So I'm going to pull up some of the screenshots here.
Rivendell is falling apart. It's apparently exchanged into new hands, and they just don't care as much, apparently.
So and from now on, we're no longer calling the Romulans Romulans. They're now the elves, because they just
elves.
There's elves.
Right.
They
elves.
styled. Yep. There's elves.
Space elves.
They're truly have been created to be space elves now. So
in the worst way too.
Yeah, not even
in
the
a
cool way
good
that no, they're generic. They're like, what are elves? They're pointy ears and they have swords and they dress like Lord of the Rings, and that's pretty much what they did with these characters. Watch Lord of the Rings and you'll be like, did they just steal uniforms they had me laying around from that movie's filming 20 years ago? I don't know. Sure looks like it.
Or cosplay, actually, because the uniforms
it's a blue version of Legolas's green,
even style. I mean, there's literally screenshots of people comparing them. They're almost identical. Like on
it's ridiculous.
Quite thing. So they're on this planet, and Picard
seriously,
is bonding with this child.
Sword fighting. I mean, sword fighting. Everyone there in the bar had swords.
I'll be honest.
It's a sword fighting.
Well,
it's a
we'll
Picard
get to that.
thing,
we'll get to that.
That's even TNG, where he kind of likes to be Robin
I don't
Hood
hate
and he has
this
his
thing.
fights,
I thought this was not a bad opening scene, to be honest. Again, it ties into this thing. I'm tired of the backflashes, though. This is stuff they should have addressed. This is stuff they should have addressed earlier. They keep adding these plot points of, oh no, now there's a secret kid that's really actually an assassin and great stuff. And I'm cool. I actually don't mind his character so far in the show. Granted, he's had maybe 2.5 minutes of screen time. But again, this whole village doesn't... This episode might jump around a little bit because this episode makes no sense to the lore and stuff. Oh, and the other thing these writers don't understand is space. They don't understand distance and physics and generic or just basic levels of physics.
That's no surprise.
So they jump around with these numbers. So at the beginning of the episode, they recap. They're even saying, "Oh, the ships were designed to save 1 billion lives." Later on in the episode, or either this episode or the next one, I'm racing ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to not keep anything ahead, but they're just so boring it doesn't matter. But at some point, they do mention again, like, oh, they're affected the beta quadrant, the star going supernova. this is important because this is just basic physics, and Star Trek stays inside of basic physics. So that's why this is important. If the closest star to Earth is about 4 light years away, 4.21.
4.3.
4.3. So that means if something happened on this Earth right now, if you blew up the biggest thing, you blew up our star, if you were watching from the closest planet to us, theoretically, the closest star to us, you wouldn't know anything happened for almost 4.5 years. And that's if that event was moving at the speed of light. In the sense of like you would see the explosion, maybe doesn't mean the shockwave is going to happen. Just like if you're watching an explosion happen in the distance, you're going to see that light, like almost like lightning flash. You're going to see that lightning happen, and then you're going to hit a sound, and they're different speeds. So even if a star went supernova, it's going to take time for that to have effect. So even if it was the biggest star ever to go supernova, and it was literally going to wipe out a quarter of the galaxy, which is almost what they're trying to say this thing did. It seems like they're implying that's going to take out the entire Beta Quadrant of the Romulan Empire, which was huge, by the way. That it did it instantaneously. And the reality is, it would only have affected it slow, even if it was expanding at the rate with no slowdown, no energy loss to it. It would still take 4 years to get to their closest planet. But we know that the Federation, at least in First Contact, was 10,000 light years spanning, and we know that I think our galaxy is about 100,000 light years across. So you're taking these things and going, even for this explosion, supposed massive supernova to affect more than 1 or 2 star systems, would take years, and not just a couple years, more than likely hundreds of years, and that's if it didn't decay down. So.
Which it would.
Yeah, it would.
Because an explosion doesn't happen at the speed of light.
Correct. So, I mean, in my brain, if you're being generous, I'm saying 100 years effect stuff. Most likely, again, even the biggest nebula, it's a couple light years across, a couple dozen light years, something like that. It takes time for this stuff to happen. And so this show acts like that the star exploding literally wiped out the Star Empire like this. And that's impossible. Because even if you said, this star exploding is going to wipe out the entire Federation, 10,000 light year blast radius, it would take 10,000 years for it to happen at the speed of light. And we're not talking like this star exploding is not like a sci-fi weapon or something that was designed like subspace explosion that's designed to destroy things faster than the speed of light. This is just a standard space phenomenon, a star going supernova. So the fact that this has become such a huge plot point is such a insanity to show. Well, doesn't make sense anymore.
I wasn't going to give anything away. But since you bring this up, there's
spoilers.
A leak.
Oh, okay. Spoilers.
It actually wasn't. It wasn't a supernova that took out Romulus. It was actually Starkiller Base.
JJ strikes another planet. It's only 4 down. No, we're at 7, 10 now.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that Starkiller Base could have ever killed those other planets it clearly went into another universe, so that it could travel further and faster, and it must have accidentally hit Romulus on the way once it remade itself back in the other universe to take out the Republic. That's clearly the answer, because, well, I think your reactions were...
Yeah, no, it says enough.
No, that was good. I was not expecting that. I was expecting an actual rumor. That was pretty good. That was good. So, yeah, I mean... Opening thoughts on this episode, guys.
I'll admit, I don't remember the scene you're talking about where they talked about taking out that much of the
I'll find it
universe. So if you can find it.
But next time we'll have it for it, because
I'm going to take your assumption.
It might be an episode next episode. Because since I was gone, I did watch both episodes.
Well, I've seen 1 through 5. I've seen them all. So whichever one it was, please give that back. I'm going to assume for the time being that what you're saying is accurate. Of course. It's one of those things where we don't really recognize... in the real world, unless you really, really dumb it down. Like you said, looking at a nuclear explosion, seeing the light first, because light travels faster than all other types of energy form. And so then you'd slowly see, dust and sand, and you'd feel the impact you'd hear the sound, and then you'd finally have debris coming and hitting you.
I think the 2 things that you could actually say would go at the speed of light would be gravity and the light itself. And then, some forms of radiation.
Gravity affects light, and there's other space. I mean, look, we've never tested to see what supernova is, so I'm willing to give some flexibility on what would actually happen.
But we know it would never go faster than light.
Exactly. The issue is space. The issue is the distance. Now, I guess I'd always assumed that it was the home star because I assumed that was the home star that this had happened at. And
didn't the movie show that being the star that blows up?
well, you know, it's funny because I went back to watch 2009. I don't know why, but I went back because I was trying to figure that out because there was that whole issue of Spock with his red ball matter trying to create a black hole that would be able to soak up the supernova, which is also asinine given the fact that we see what happens when they get sucked in and it just sends it to a different universe and back in time. So all they would have done was redistributed the supernova energy to some random place in space and time, and who knows what that would have done.
I'm guessing they were saying that was unstable version of it because when they destroyed the planet of Vulcan, another planet destroyed by JJ, it didn't go anywhere. The planet, it just collapsed in on itself and then died out. So it's more of, I think that the point of the red matter was more like, oh, when you only use a little bit, it essentially is like a mini trash compactor. Again, it's a plot device that really makes no sense really in the end.
Stupid.
Physics-wise.
Anyway, so continue on, is that he supposedly, according to the 2009, now again, I know it almost seems like they've ignored that for the most part, other than the fact that it's Romulus is gone. But Spock said that he was late, like he didn't make it in time. Well, if we wanted to take our own universe as an example, our sun is, for the speed of light, is about 8 minutes away. So if it was to go instantly supernova, and we're just going to use the basics of an explosion, I'm not going to get into hypergravity and time dilation and all that stuff because it's just too complicated and you can't really know because we have no observable effect of what that would look like in a supernova, is that it would take a minimum of 8 minutes to hit Earth. So my assumption at first was, yeah, it's their local planet. But then I realized, okay, how can you be late if it's only 8 minutes away? But see, I think they rewrote it because then they said we were wrong. We thought it was going to blow up in 5 years, and it blew up in 4. And I think that's how they kind of rewrote that.
I always assumed the late part.
Issue.
I always assumed the late part was more like Spock hadn't developed the red matter in time to deploy it.
But they even say we created a new type of ship that was faster. Almost as if they saw this thing blowing up and exploding and
so you're
traveling
pointing out
through
a
space,
possible...
and they didn't make a fast enough race car to get there in time.
Yeah, I never took it that way, but again, now you're going off this topic, I guess, in the sense of what...
Well, no, what I'm just saying is the distances, I guess, if we wanted to simplify it, I always assumed it was just Romulus and Remus that was destroyed because it was their local star.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
But like you said, if it's not their local star and it's some other star, there is absolutely no reason why they couldn't have evacuated everyone off the planet. Or these sections of space. Even if it, like you said, it had gone off and destroyed whatever local solar system, it never would have made it to another solar system, period. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it would take decades to make it there.
Yeah, only the closest. And we know that not every star system is inhabited. Like I said, we're looking at a huge amount of space. So, yeah, it's a thing. So anyway, into the story. We had this opening scene that's 14 years in the past. It's really just geared to introduce this kind of plot device of this character being able to join the crew as a Romulan.
Like every single other episode so far.
Yeah, it's pretty uninteresting.
Yeah.
It doesn't, this is when, we get to the point where essentially the moment Picard finds out that the synthetics attacked Mars is the scene here, and then it goes on. So then we have them on the ship and they're flying. And
I actually thought this scene was kind of funny. I mean, again,
hated it.
Not as serious Star Trek, this is Star Trek. You have to, in my mind, this isn't Star Trek because it clearly isn't. As a scene, I thought it was actually kind of funny. I mean, this is what someone would make a parody of Star Trek if they're parodying Star Trek. I thought it was funny.
I would have been more okay with it if it wasn't for the fact that like this doctor girl should have been used to flying in space. And it gives her a weird, it's like she's starting to experience some weird stuff here where you're like,
she's getting sketchy as if there's more to her character.
Right. Without spoilers.
Almost like someone called that though, like last week or two.
Possibly.
I was gonna text you, Philip. I was gonna text you when at the end of the 5th episode.
Hey, but we can't talk about that. This is only season 4.
Episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4.
So
sorry,
it was a fine. I mean, it's just
we'll do a flashback.
Another filler scene. And then,
although I did think another thing that was funny was when Picard, when the first scene was reading the book, and he goes, "What does Perry mean?" And he goes, I'll tell you later. I thought that was funny.
No, it was funny. I'll show you.
He's like,
I'll show
just
you.
kidding. I'll never teach you what a parry is, and you'll die.
That's funny. So the reason I also think that they are stealing from Lord of the Rings is because, oh, look at rings on the paper here. I was like, oh, look at everything's rings. Everything, like, her necklace is rings, just like Lord of the Rings. Do we separate?
Stupid.
Do we throw the rings into the fires of Mordor? And then
They also stole a Halo sound effect
no, that's
from
funny.
the Forerunners for when the ship warped. Straight out of Halo.
That's funny.
I was
Wouldn't surprise me.
pissed. I was like, really? Those are just free sound bites you can just take from a movie, from a
Right.
video game?
So then we go into this scene where they're all discussing Picard's desire to return back to the planet where we have Legolas and the elves. And, it just was, again, I feel like they're reusing the
Daughters of
set.
Legolas.
They're reusing the set for some reason. They're like, oh,
They didn't have the money,
Right.
So they
I was gonna
decided
say the
we're
same
cool.
thing.
why would they
They
just
thought we're super clever.
Why would
We'll
they
just
just
have
meet
a
on-
hospitality EMH or hospitality hologram created. He's living in a holodeck, guys. I would think that would cost some energy.
Right.
I don't care.
I don't know why they just don't have them in, like, they're just meeting on the bridge. That seemed like the ship that's set up. And
think.
again, we have my least favorite character of the show, just nothing but berate Picard, because
She's so bad.
all she seems to do is question what he does and complain about it with her ulterior motives that we'll find out here in a second that make no sense. And the captain's just kind of going, whatever, he's paying me. So, and it's like, oh yeah, it's dangerous. Okay, got it. Again, this world makes no sense because they're in Federation territory, but now we hear there's these like rangers who are protecting things, and you're like, oh,
Don't even get me started with
you're
the
like, what does this
rip-off
even
of
mean?
Rangers.
Like, what did the, like, I feel like all of a sudden they're like, the galaxy went to chaos because one star went supernova, and you're like,
And it's stupid.
and this should not be what causes the galaxy to go supernova, because we're going to get into this in a little later here, next scene.
Again, that's like losing Los Angeles and then saying that the United Kingdom is now in disarray.
Pretty much, yeah. It's
It
really,
just it doesn't make sense. It's just dumb. Also, as an editor, Joel, I don't know if you noticed, it was really weird.
editing
But
was rough in this one. I'll tell you, the beginning, the first third half, it actually stuck out to me as like, wow,
what
it
was,
hurts.
What was with the whole Raffi comes in, she's angry at Picard. They're in their room, right? She's like, oh my gosh, you're going to blah, 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 strap it off at Vashti. Then it cuts to the ship for like 4 seconds, and then it cuts back into their room, and they're sipping on tea and sitting down at the table. I'm like,
I think this show is very hacked together from what
Yes.
Another point?
Go ahead.
Can I just say another point that actually gave me a little bit of I had a moment back where Picard finally gets the information that the Federation has been bombed, or Mars.
we open up our
Why does he put his hand to his ear? When has ear comms ever been a Star Trek thing? They have freaking comm badges, and
Yeah,
then you notice
I
that he
don't-
doesn't have a
I
comm
didn't-
badge,
I didn't catch
and you
that, but
go,
that's funny.
"Oops, you forgot your flippin' comm badge. Why wouldn't you have that on your out shirt?" Which he's done always, and yet they're like, "Oh, we left it on the jacket. My
Yeah.
bad."
It would
So
have
he goes to
ruined
his
his
ear.
Copacabana suit.
Yeah,
His Copacabana
I don't know what he was
suit
wearing
was
that.
too cool.
But
It's
yeah, it's interesting. So we had this another, of course, random scene of the Borg cube stuff, which pretty much I'm just going to put to skip and incest territory, because everything so far is pretty much uninteresting. They're alluding at this like Day of Annihilation, which sounds like a Ragnarok type thing, which is very
yes, it does.
which is very Thor, mysticism, end of the world.
Destroyer.
Yeah,
I mean, get it.
I
Don't
think
get me wrong. The
Ragnarok's-
Borg are bad, but they're not like mythological creatures that come up when you say their name backwards in the mirror.
Right.
You know, it's not what they are. They're just an
Grob,
infestation of biological humanoid.
Grob.
Yeah. So then they get to the planet and they're
Nothing.
chilling. They're there and they're like, oh, there's a defense system on this planet now. It has shields that cover the entire planet.
What the
And
heck?
Has,
Since when do
that
we
has
have
really
shields?
amazing lasers until they actually start firing.
And phasers everywhere. And then they're like, it's a problem. And then next thing we know is, oh, they're there. Because it doesn't
Yeah,
even...
but we can transport through it.
And then they're like, oh, we're there. And then, oh. And
what a good pause.
This
what
is
a good
Romulan.
pause.
So now Picard's on the planet, and he sees this little
In
outdoor
English.
This outdoor cantina, and it says Romulans only. And I'm like,
This isn't Doctor Who.
well,
the TARDIS does not have instantaneous visual
and also,
translation.
Why would there be humans here? Like that. This was
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
That's exactly what I said.
Why was there
Yeah.
humans here? Why would they be like no humans? Like, or what other aliens? Because isn't this just a transplant on a planet that was uninhabited for them to come in? They've literally built it, And also,
That's correct.
When did the Romulans become so low tech that they're like, nah, we don't want dirt. We just want dirt pavement, because replicators replicating bricks or power systems and stuff like that. This is not the Romulans were a freaking first world, in some ways probably more advanced than the Federation in some levels, empire. And in this one, they are a disillusioned government that doesn't even know what's happening. They have people spread in and outside of their own borders, and they have no technology. Go ahead and do a clap, Philip. Thank you. So we have the Romulans that don't even make sense of who they are. At one side, they're one of the most advanced races in the Alpha, Beta, and Gamma quadrants. Well, I'd say that actually the Gamma would probably actually be the
probably not. Dominion was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I'd say the Dominion probably was a little more advanced. But they were kind of a weird advance because they technically were just cloning people and stuff, and then their advancement came from the ability.
I mean,
but
they
were a
make
very
them
powerful
sleepy.
empire. But the Romulans were no slouches. They were super powerful and advanced. Like when the Federation first met them, they were blown us. I mean, the plasma torpedoes were so advanced they freaking just rocked our world in the beginning. When those
it was like, oh my gosh, these things are incredible.
So
this whole
thing
it's like a nuke in space.
The fact that they're like now on this planet and they're like, we haven't done anything in 10 years to make this better. What do you mean nothing's done in 10 years? Anyway, so that's just part of that first thing, which we'll go back into. So then we meet
Elrond.
It's right, Elrond Jr. here, who is the
Jr.
elf with the sword, and he's been part of this group of the Daughters of Legolas. He's the only son of Legolas because they only have women in the group, which is fine. They can have a sisterhood of assassins. I don't really care. That's their own thing. They keep adding lore. Phil brought this up earlier. We were chatting, and they keep adding like secret societies inside of secret societies of the Romulans, which makes no sense. And instead of just adding to, hey, this is a version of the Tal Shiar, this is the Black Division or something. We have so many bands of secret societies going on right now. We have the Tal Shiar, we have the Voodoo tribe, we have the Vashta Narada. We have so many versions. I'm like, who cares? I don't know.
And this is what I to attach what I said to let you continue is that this is why I think they chose the Romulans to continue on with this, because there is no real mythology that's been in the television shows and stuff like that. So I think they felt they could just do whatever they wanted.
Yeah,
and continue. They didn't have to because the Klingons, right? I mean, they are so interactive in both TNG and the original series. Everyone kind of knows what they are, but the Romulans were kind of like secret.
Yeah.
And so now they took advantage of it. They're like, just kidding. You know how we said they were a technologically advanced race and they had all these cool little things and they were kind of like crazy militaristic CIA-like? Nah, just kidding. They're actually like elves and they dress like them, and they also live in little Mexican villas and in Spain, and they live in stone, and they also don't care about technology anymore, and they have weird hand gestures that make no sense. They're like primitive and childish. Like, we open our hearts to you and then shut the door.
But at the same time, they're on a Borg cube dissecting everything on it with no problem. And they're so back on the cube.
Choose a lane.
Back on that cube. Speaking of that, we're going to say skip because all it is terrible romance.
Can we just slide through it just like they slide through the hallway?
No, I got that saved here. Ready?
Seen.
Oh no, I thought I had it saved. The his little slide thing. I don't know what it is about cringy romance, but I don't think their chemistry is not horrific, but what they're having them say and how they're interacting is so cringy it hurts. Hurts so
people
bad.
Don't talk this way.
Just beyond that, it's just weird. It's cringy. I got to that scene. I said, "What am I watching? 2005 Doctor Who?"
Seriously,
seriously, it is on that.
I don't
level
like sand.
This is corny.
It's coarse, and it gets everywhere.
Are you telling the truth? No. Are you lying?
No. Well, would you tell me the truth? Could you tell me the truth? Yes.
Maybe.
Sure,
yes.
maybe.
I don't know. I just want to be.
You know, I really am falling in love with you.
Stop it. You know what really pissed me off about this scene? When he said a secret Borg ritual, I actually thought we were going to see something.
No, I wrote in my notes. I was like, I put my notes when I was watching it. I was like, Borg don't have rituals. I'm sorry. And then he started like dancing. I was like, oh my God,
she says
worse.
it too. She says the same thing. Soji goes, Borgs don't have rituals. He's like, man, I'll show you.
And I'm like,
take off your shoes.
I'm like, that wasn't even I'm like, so this is like your secret like pickup line?
There's nanobots and nanites.
Wait, that's actually a great pickup line actually they got. You want to see a secret Borg ritual? Follow me. I don't
want to see my assassination tubules. Oh, sorry. That's the third date. Sorry,
Well, that's what I
my
thought.
bad.
I thought it was going to be something like a supposed scientist and anthropologist would find interesting. They actually like they punked me. I was like, oh, well, maybe we're going to see something kind of interesting. And then that scene, and I was like,
oh, it's so bad. It hurt.
oh, not to mention, hey, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but it really ticked me off when he said, that's when she said, oh, the Borg don't have rituals. And he goes, that's what everyone thinks. She did the Data head cock.
No, did
Did
she
you catch that?
I did notice
She's like,
that,
she literally went,
Well,
and I was like, screw you, bitch.
You know,
You ain't
Language.
Data.
you know, if she did that, I didn't catch that, and if it is the Data head cock, I'll actually give credit. I actually don't hate that since she is in the story supposed to be Data's daughter.
Yeah.
So in the sense of what the story is, I wish
Daddy's mad at you
I wish
because
they
you
would
are
spend-
sleeping around.
I wish they'd spend more time
Taught you better.
with those kind of details if that was the story, but I didn't see catch that. So then we're back on, in Rivendell here, and we have Picard and Elrond
No,
Jr.
let's not disgrace Rivendell. This is
This
is
Rivendell
Candor.
Light, right? Well, the rip off,
Yeah, this is-
rip off
this-
Rivendell. And we have the elves talking, and Picard tells him the sad story to have him join his group. And
And of course, he does the
says,
I reject it. I won't be there. Oh, this is what it looks like, by the way. When Picard did this, I wrote in my notes, oh, so we're stealing like an SJW, we're stealing the change my mind sign. That's what that was.
so he throws the Romulan sign from the bar on the ground. And then he walks
My note,
into the
Philip,
bar.
Phil, my note says Picard gets to posture like in this one. I mean, because all he is doing it. It's like, let me pound my chest and virtue signal for a good second here in this
Seriously.
whole scene.
And it was so silly, too. So, yeah, he does the thing. He walks into the bar, rips the sign down, and goes, serve me. And everyone ignores him. And then this
Which is
guy
super
comes
douchey.
and this guy comes up, and essentially he turns out to be a Romulan senator before, who somehow ended up on this planet like I said, Romulan senators had so much power inside of what we know of them.
Yeah, like
they
he would still be something
they were
important
like
here.
They would be like, I would actually put them in the level of like high level royalty inside of the Romulan culture. From what
I
I've
would
seen.
think so.
These guys should not. He should be able to make a phone call on his little tricorder and be like, "Hey, can a ship come grab me?" I mean, they have freaking planetary defense, so how can you not have a ship?
Somehow,
I'm getting a comm.
Yeah, and be like, "Hey, I need to get off this planet." They go, "Oh, okay, we'll be there in 48 hours." So the fact he's been there 10
think?
years and done nothing is just hurts my brain. This whole thing, I think, is actually going to have to be this scene itself. I actually kind of want to break down in the future for this show, because everything that's said in it is wrong. This guy's blaming a Picard is wrong. Him saying that, the Romulans could have figured it out ourselves is wrong, because we actually know the future and they did not figure it out in an exact timeline.
But they could.
Hence
But
why-
see, in reality, they would have.
They could have,
That's
and
the
they
problem.
should have.
In reality, they would have.
Well, and
you know,
they didn't in any timeline.
I know.
And here's
but
the
that
thing.
brings me to a point that I had at this
Stop
point,
blaming
especially
Picard.
with what we're talking.
They keep blaming, and Picard keeps accepting blame that he didn't save the entire Romulan Empire.
Agreed.
And-
He's got a
and they keep
messiah
blaming
complex.
him.
He's got this.
Arrogant
He's got a complete.
prick.
He's kind of. It is. He's kind of arrogant, thinking that he's like, well, I didn't save everyone, so I'm gonna have this like enormous weight. But a part of that too that I started noticing, especially this episode, and it does be said in the next episode, they're starting to use Starfleet and Federation just wishy-washy, and I don't know if you guys noticed in that one, because like
I haven't
before it's always
noticed
been Starfleet was the ones who failed, and in this episode for sure they started going Starfleet, the Federation. And I know this brings into a big point that I won't bring into the end here because it's going to be my little rant from after all of you guys
Okay,
had, but
that's fine. That's fine.
rant in a good way. I'm so
rant.
happy that you guys had the same. I'm so happy you guys had the same feelings, because I did. I was like, Elrond, what is this fellowship? Did we finally find everyone? What is going on here?
yes.
Like,
I feel like we have not found our Gimli character yet.
no, I don't think we have quite.
Yeah, we
yet.
have. She's a blonde.
No. She's
No.
more of a hobbit.
We'll discuss.
She's
that.
a Boromir.
But they've started having this point of, like I said, they haven't done a good job of world building, and like I said, that'll be my bigger point for a lot later here. But Starfleet and Federation are not the same thing, as much as I know there's never really been a delineation that they really go through too much. But it's like, I've always thought of the Federation as like the UN, and Starfleet is like the U.S. military. We're the ones who always do everything for the UN, and we're the main fighting force there, but we're not actually Like they're separate
No,
entities.
they're NATO. Starfleet would be NATO.
Yeah,
Okay.
Starfleet's
you know,
NATO, and the Federation's the UN.
I don't-
If you want to
Fine,
go
but
that
it's
route.
like, but you know what I'm saying? But it's like now they've had this starting moment where they're starting to say Starfleet / Federation. They're kind of using interchangeably, and I don't know if it's a rebel
think that's-
resistance
well,
fail,
it's mostly
or
because
if they're trying to
we've
now
always-
be saying it's all of the Federation. Is it all of the Federation society is the problem?
You know, I can't say anything that without researching it because I feel like Starfleet is the Federation. Like if someone says Starfleet and the Federation, I'd be like they're the same entity. So I don't know what I don't know what the breakdown is and like exact.
Like I said, I know they've
canon.
never.
They're technically not, but since it's the arm of the Federation for scientific discovery
I
and
think
let's
it's like
be
the
honest,
government. I think it's the
law
government arm,
enforcement.
right? I would say
Yeah.
it's the government arm. Like Starfleet is the government arm, right? Like that's all it is.
No, it's the military arm.
It's the military arm. That's like
It's the
but
military.
they're
arm.
also
the
they do far
Federation
more
is
than
the
military.
the Federation is the total coalition, and Starfleet is the military.
Okay.
the CIA, FBI, and military is all combined.
Yeah,
And all
I mean,
and
that's
all
what
the
they
little
are.
I'll have to do
interagencies,
some
yeah.
research on that one because that's a good point, Christopher. And I don't know. I mean, again, there's a lot of blame being put onto the Federation in this episode by this character and other
Yes.
characters in it, and it's unwarranted.
It's undue. Yeah,
and
it
it
is
doesn't
not
make
warranted.
sense because again, it seems like they're
Sorry you couldn't save your guys' planet. It took 4
Shambles.
years for that explosion to get there. You guys are stupid.
Well,
and
and-
that's
and-
why you're living agrarian lives now because you know what? You couldn't even figure out how to get away from your own exploding planet.
well, and
I'm actually
again,
curious
get
the
how
hell
they're
outta
making
here.
leather products when I didn't see any cows there.
Well, they should.
think they have
I'm sure they have a
replicators.
replicator.
Replicators.
Yeah, they have a replicator.
They're not that
So,
agrarian, Phil.
but-
Come
And
on.
yet they're still living in pueblos.
But I'll tell you what
In squalor.
kind of blew my mind on this part of this episode here, and is essentially this guy. So this guy gives Picard.
Wait, go back to that.
Well,
So that's the
I
name
will.
of their society because that's great. 'cause you
There
know
you
how
go. No,
easy
I
it is to
said that
understand their
screenshot.
names.
So this guy
It's
here
stupid.
gives Picard
Okay,
the
Mickey.
essentially the beat down verbally, and then essentially goes fight me or die. Then our Elrond Jr. comes in and cuts his head off and says, I'm gonna follow Picard because his situation's hopeless. We find out the reason he does it is because his situation's hopeless. Fine, cool. I know people
That's so
were saying
stupid.
things. I don't really. It's just one of those things. Cool. I knew he was gonna join. There's no surprise there.
Yeah,
It was-
right.
It was
I mean,
one of those
no.
things-
Yeah,
Whoa,
I mean,
really?
What we weren't
You know,
surprised
it's
there.
a.
And the reason
You
too
know,
is
here's.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that philosophy, other than the Candor thing or Candor, which is stupid. They make this comment that the Daughters of Legolas are the most feared by the Tal Shiar, but then they say we only bind ourselves to the lost causes. And my problem with that is, other than it just sounded stupid, it's just something that someone was pooping out while they're like, that's super philosophical, super deep. But other than that, okay, let's look at the laws of diminishing returns when you actually try to achieve something. Now imagine how low those returns are when every choice you make is intentionally betting against yourself. You can't be an entity that is feared by the primary government entity as a small group of women when your desire is only to focus on the lost causes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
agree with that. I think that the philosophy itself, like you said,
You couldn't exist.
is a
It's
flawed
impossible.
thing because you go, well, a lost cause has a zero return, right? What's the
Yes.
lostest cause you can have? Well, the lost causes are still a long list of things that could do. And again, there could be other stipulations to it, like, oh, is it a good cause? Yes, but is also a lost cause? Okay, too. They don't give that as multiple layers of stipulations. But what I will say is, and it cracked me up, and you laughed when I said this, is that when they end up on the ship, back on the ship, Picard's balls must have changed gravity because he went from having known, he must have aged 50 years, or they just got heavier because they hit the deck so hard in the ship, they almost lost orbit, I think, because the lambasting he then gave this guy, that he gave Elrond Jr. after they got back to the ship, was the Picard that I wanted to see
Yes.
against the
Yes.
Romulan senator in just about 3 minutes prior to that. And so the fact that he can still do it, I'm glad to see. However, I feel that his gravitas was
His
placed
timing's off.
in the wrong character there, because like I said, I was like, it was almost, again, there's a lot of
Comes off douchey.
I get a lot of character
doing that.
whiplash by these characters in this show right now, because there's a lot of wishy-washy decision making. There's a lot of angry at a character one scene and then denying it other and then happy the other. I've never seen, like you said, it's all over the map on that. So, yep, he's on the ship. Picard has told him, you're my dog. And okay, that was kind of the thing.
Oh, it's nice when you grow some balls when you know the guy won't kill you.
Right.
When there's someone there who's going to kill you, you're like, I guess I'll just be a bitch and die. Oh, thanks for saving me. By the way, thanks for saving me. Oh, yeah, how could you do that?
Right.
I don't know. I saved your life.
So now we're on our next little scene here, and we have our Game of Thrones incest with brother and sister, and probably not related, but, they're related for the sense of it is. But then we probably will find out they're related somehow because, reasons and... Well, I don't care.
We have Northerners and Southerners in Romulans, so I'm sure there are Arkansas and Alabamas.
So they have their weird dynamic here. And obviously, she wants to kill, he wants to have sex with, and
that's really all they've given. So
pretty good reduction.
They have a secret mission to find out secret stuff.
Well, the line she kind of I know, it's kind of a weird line because she says, you've been studying androids your entire life and you've been waiting your entire life for this moment. And I think to myself, okay, so these guys are anti-synthetic, anti-android, anti-all of that type of artificial intelligence. So if you're in a society that's anti that, why on God's green earth would you say to yourself, I've been waiting for this day. I've been waiting to run into a female synthetic that I could trick and have sex with to then turn around and destroy it and all of its kind. That's a very odd daydream
It gives
to have.
It gives a hint. The hint I was taking, like from the story side of it, is that...
There's a story?
Yeah, right. Is that they think there's like a secret base full of...
Yeah,
of these
Dodges and Sojis,
which we'll get into that next episode.
Which is weird.
Spoilers.
I don't know why they think.
All right, so then we go to our next little scene. Oh, we have another.
Oh my gosh, this was so bad.
Who is
so bad?
at his job. Why would you have a weapons specialist on your ship that is bad at doing his job? Who's a hologram? I just didn't get that. Like, I get the joke. It's a joke that's now starting to wear thin for me.
Yes.
That there's like 6 versions of him.
Because they haven't developed.
Nothing happens with
it.
It's. But see, if they develop, exactly. If they developed, it would have been cool. But it's just a bit for 45 seconds and it's over.
Yeah, and it has no actual effect to the plot. So they're fighting Romulan.
And again, the heads-up display is ugly.
Oh yeah,
the whole action of. Looks so bad.
Too much, it's too much work. Probably, it's one of those things with visual effect wise. I'm like, I would just rather have a joystick on there. Would have been better.
Yeah.
Or is it old touch consoles? Just
Delta
works.
Flyer.
So old Tom
Delta
Paris,
Flyer
man.
the crap out of that thing.
Yeah.
If you want to make it look more visceral and not like just punching pads, punching calculations on a calculator, there's nothing wrong with doing the Tom Paris way.
Right. There's other people out there in the galaxy who probably would be like Tom Paris style.
Feel it from, and you would see it from.
He likes cigars.
I kind of go,
he likes his cigars. He likes his things simple, and he likes his.
He likes his classic, Klingon
He likes
opera.
to touch. I like the touch. Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that.
This scene sucks. It's awful. Old bird of prey, and yet new technology can't defeat it. It has powerful disruptors. I mean, everything about this scene screams dumb.
Well, 90% agreed.
Especially
I didn't. When we first saw the ship, I was like, oh, okay. I've kind of lost my like of the ship, mostly because now we've seen more angles with it flying. And there's nothing interesting with it. And I'll tell you something interesting, because I know, Philip, this might not apply to you as much in this one. But a lot of times in anime, so we're going to reference some anime here, a ship or a object or a character has kind of its base intro model vibe going. Now, Starfleet ships in general are gorgeous. Not all, but there's some obviously gorgeous ships. I would say pretty much mostly.
All original stuff.
There are some crap. I'm looking at you, a Bertha class.
Yeah, but I would say the E class, the Sovereign class Enterprise, is the piece de resistance of spaceships. I think of any spaceship in the entire, send me a link of one that's better. I'll take a look at it. But
Retrofit A. But I think the Retrofit A is beautiful.
Retrofit A is the classic. Like that's like the DB9 Aston Martin from Bond, like the old one, original one, and then you have the what was the DB10? I think it was like the special model that was just so slick and gorgeous. And maybe not the best example because I think that old classic Martin was the better.
No, I was gonna say comparing a '67 Mustang with the old body, and you're like, wow, that thing's really beautiful. But then you could also appreciate,
a Ferrari,
a Lamborghini Aventador,
right? And I feel like the E
Exactly.
is just amazingly designed. I don't think there's another sci-fi ship that's as beautiful as that ship
Nowhere.
that I can think
nowhere.
of. Like, there's a lot of iconic ships, but there's very few that are legitimately gorgeous and sexy. That ship is
Without a
sexy.
doubt.
So,
Like-
beyond our ship porn, this ship, I was actually hoping that maybe they would kind of have like kind of that like upgradability. Like, we have a secret thing happening and it kind of looks cooler. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that actually now watching it fly around, I've kind of lost a little bit of flair for it because I kind of seen these angles.
Well, this is
It's
the
so
old, but
dark.
this is That's the toss. That's a toss style.
Well, you're not seeing no, not the
No,
Romeo.
not the bird of prey. We're not talking about the bird of
Our
prey.
hero ship, the Rios.
Oh, I hate that thing. It's the ugliest piece of
That's what
crap
I'm
on the planet.
I'm saying that like
I actually liked how they've kind of done the.
yeah,
I mean, I wish it would have been a model. I wish, but I just wish they would still do models in general for
of
all
what
of them.
pieces of fake plastic shoved together inside of a random geometric shape. I mean, it's
this is okay.
It's ugly.
I think they were I agree. So they have the little space battle, which does nothing other than introduce our. Oh, I don't have it in our shit clip.
And it's also
there you go.
super dumb. It makes absolutely no sense. People fly in front of the disruptors. They can outmaneuver the bird of prey, yet they get in front of it all the time. Even though you watch them spin around in like 4 circles behind it, you're like, okay,
Talk about another
if you're
bad
that
edit. That was
maneuverable-
another bad edit.
Yeah.
The whole
If you're
flip
that
around thing, that was
maneuverable, why
choppy.
would you ever find yourself in front of that ship? That's ridiculous. Not to mention old technology. I first thought it was going to be cloaked. I was thinking, really, we can't see through old cloaks from 100 years ago? But now it's even more insulting that it actually has disruptors that could damage the ship, damages the Ranger ship, which then flies into the space shield of the planet, which, how does that planet have shields and phaser turrets everywhere, yet they're still living in what looks like abject poverty downstairs? Who put those phasers up there? Who put those shields up? We've never seen planetary shields in Star Trek. It was so stupid.
And I'd be okay with the existence of planetary shields. I'm okay with that advancement. My problem with it is
On Earth, where
Well,
there's like technology and power.
My problem with it on this one is exactly that. Like you said, this is a planet that has a couple 100,000 Romulans on it, and what appears to be near poverty, and yet somehow they have the ability to have an entire planet scoped out. But this obviously then reveals our secret ending reveal, which is 709, which actually I didn't hate. Actually, as a reveal, I'll be honest, I didn't hate it. Her coming
I
into
do
it.
for one reason. I do
Well,
the
why do
way
you hate it?
they did it. I did, to go to Philip's point. It's an antiquated ship that they mention even has the antiquated targeting system.
Yeah, which is even dumber.
Wait, you're
So
talking
the-
about you're talking about the
bird of
Romulan.
prey.
Bird of prey.
Yeah,
Going
okay.
bird of prey. So then the ranger from the north shows up.
Seriously, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh,
Like I said,
dude,
like I said,
it's
my,
like-
my, my
swear
Lord of
to
the
God.
Rings reference here is like I said, from now on, this
Oh
show
no,
is
you guys, like I said again, you guys are so spot on because I was thinking the same exact thing. I know I sent one thing to you guys already in the text message where I was like, "Oh look, Elrond! Like, are we finally getting the Fellowship of the Ring together?" Like,
No, it's I said
So
the
I-
necklace.
so I
the
like-
necklace is rings. Look, this
Yeah,
is.
I mean, it's horrible.
They just took
But-
random parts from the books and went, "We are now Star Trek."
yeah, it was bad. but so you have this whole scene. They're doing their little fight and they're doing it. Ranger ship comes in, like you said. Then we find out who this Ranger is an ex-Borg who helped make the Delta Flyer, mind you. I just want to
good
point
point.
that out as a
That's
good,
a good point.
as something to be said there.
That's excellent choice.
Her ship then has powerful enough phasers that it cuts the wing of the bird of prey. Then the bird of prey now, I would assume, I know it's space, but again, they just lost one thruster.
Nope, it was
So-
powerful enough to maneuver.
Yeah.
And shoot back.
Well, it did. It's not, it didn't even maneuver. It tilts up, and then those antiquated lasers then get one shot off on the Ranger ex-Borg ship who made the Delta Flyer. Does it get 2 shots? It gets 2, whatever. Oh yeah, because it's the 2 beams at the same time, and it takes out the ship enough that it's dead. That's gonna blow up. What? Again. She helped make the Delta Flyer. She has Borg technology. She would be able to make that ship stronger. Why the hell could that ship not take more than one shot? And again, why couldn't it not miss the shot after it pretty much, it sunk it in the water? So, because it's all for the stupid crap that they want to do, which is, oh, let's show her, and then we'll have her knock out.
The captain. He. Oh my gosh, it's not a guy. It's a girl. It's like, nobody cares.
Like, I don't, well, like I said, but then again, it's like you sit there and you go, like, I don't care who it was. Then you find out who it is, and you go, really? She got shot down,
Right?
You know, this
and
is
she's
why-
almost dead from it.
I'll tell you why it didn't bug me, and this is, again, it could be the way I viewed it through the editing. because I don't know. Sometimes, you know, because sometimes I overanalyze stuff. Sometimes I catch up with things so fast.
Yeah, you underanalyze this one because it's crap.
The reason then I assume that she crashed is because she was actually taking the shot for the ship.
But it doesn't show that way in the editing.
No,
that's what I assumed. So maybe I
The
assumed
ship's behind, I think, in the scene, and she flies in front of it
I agree
to
with you.
have to
Well,
get
that's fine.
shot.
I was assuming the reason she got hit is because she was taking a shot for the ship.
She was behind the ship when she took the shot and took out the ship. That's
Again,
what
it's like
just because again that's how I assumed it, because that's the only reason 7 and 9 were getting knocked out.
every single one of these episodes always end on a cliffhanger, and then every episode begins with a flashback to then understand who the character is going to be, so their character choices make more sense,
Good point, Chris.
or at least make some sense for their and which is
That's an excellent point. Actually, you're right, because I didn't notice that, but you're right. That's right. The next
if-
one starts with her, and it's like, oh, we're doing her little snigget story.
yeah.
One thing I would say is her being transported on, I get so tired of this cliche, but it's like, stupid one-liner, collapse. You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's amazing how these people have all the constitution to stand there and then give some BS line, but then all of a sudden, collapse. It's like, really? If you really wanted to do it right, they'd be walking around the ship trying to do things, and then all of a sudden, the physical reality of, my adrenaline stopped running out. It's 25 minutes later happens, and then you fall over and collapse.
It's funny, Philip, because there's an anime that actually even makes a reference like that to a guy who's pretty much beaten himself to hell, almost dead, and he goes, once adrenaline runs out, he won't be able to move anymore. We got to stop him. But a live action
I know you're
show,
talking. Which one was that again?
Can't have it. That's My Hero Academia.
Okay, yeah.
Also,
It's Aizawa says it about Deku after I think the fight with the Pussycats.
Also, Picard says 7 of 9, and she goes by 7. You prick. So I thought.
Well, and again, another
that's
moment.
like, that's like literally
show...
going. That's like going, George H.W. Bush. You know, it's like you should. No, it's just 7.
Well, here's the thing.
Right?
Again,
just 7.
Because a lot of the stuff that happens with her goes in the next episode, which we won't talk about right now.
Sure.
I know Christopher wants to give a little rant.
Yes,
so
I do want to
let him do it. Get out.
Hey,
his
you know what,
rant.
Christopher? You know what I said to your rant?
What?
Dashvadu, which means bite me apparently in Romulan.
Oh,
So-
okay.
so-
You know,
Philip,
because human
you ready?
nomenclature is
Philip?
so constant.
Ready for a Christopher rant? Engage.
I hate that. That gesture's so dumb.
so time for a little shepherd rant. Okay. One thing that knows, and I probably will have to bring it up for the next episode because I think it comes back again, but
You only get once. You either do it now or later.
Gotta do it now.
the world building of Star Trek is non-existent in this show. There is no world building in this show. The world building they try to pretend that they have is the original series world building, but then they don't want to use it correctly. So it really is getting to my nerves. And like I said, it really comes into play for the next episode,
May I
especially
hop in
because the characters
really
they
fast?
bring in. Yeah.
I'm going to say one part that will tie into that world building part. So this show is a great example of using names and characters of past stuff to throw in there without actually meaning. So there's probably things that I've missed, but there's a lot of Easter eggs, and I use the word Easter egg loosely in the general sense. So they referenced Quark in this episode is one that popped out to me.
No, that's 5.
Is that 5? Not that was here on this
Yep.
when they got on this planet.
Nope.
Oh,
5.
okay, whatever. So the next one they reference Quark, but there's little things they'll reference these little names in here. So I apologize, I'm jumping ahead there. But it's irrelevant. It's a spoiler because it's irrelevant to the story. It's just a word. They could have been any name. It could have been any name they chose. They just threw out ones that they pulled randomly from the hat of previous Star Trek.
Yes.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Exactly. I think you're right, and that's what's really what's getting on my nerves at this point is because, like I said, I know the next episode, knowing of how it starts and the characters they pull in just to pretty much crap on them, is to me it's like, why would you you finally want to pull stuff? So they want to do this character-based storyline with character development, and as I already said, then all their character development is always a flashback at the beginning of every episode. So they go, oh, you're gonna know about Elrond now, so let's do a little flashback so you actually get who he is, and then we'll kind of do his character.
Elrond
You want to know who Raffi is? Let's go and do this. You can't. First off, that's just horrible writing in the way that they're doing it, because again, there's no care there, but there's no world building to again, like you're saying, you just pull names from a hat from something prior, but there's nothing created there. There's nothing. worth wanting to be pulled in by this character or understanding the backstory in some way, or going, oh, okay, I know who they are because of this. And again, like they keep bringing up these new societies, they keep bringing up this new stuff, and you're going, I don't even know what the Federation is anymore. I don't know what Starfleet is anymore. I don't know what's happening in this universe anymore, because you guys have wanted to distance yourself so much from the original stuff, from the original world building, from the original, the original thought of what the show was supposed to be. And now you want to cherry pick some, names, but you have no intent behind it. And I think that goes to what you guys were saying at the beginning of this, and that's why I agree. They don't care. They don't care at all. They don't care. They don't want to be here. They want to be doing some other thing. And it's just like, wow.
It sure feels like it. Like I said, it definitely feels, like I said, it's my opening kind of monologue. I know it was a short monologue, but it was my opening part, which is, I truly feel like the people working this show don't want to work on Star Trek. And that's the sad part, because...
No, they want to be on Mission Impossible or something else, because that was the other thing it's like from. It's like Mission Impossible, sci-fi shows, NCIS, everything else other than Star Trek.
A quick spoiler, so if you don't want... For about 2 minutes here, probably our last little bit, but just jump ahead a minute or so. Quick spoiler for next episode, so... Got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Which is the violence of the next episode. So I saw a meme and I saved it because
violence,
because people were like, "Oh my God, the violence of the show," and honestly, I'd rather have the violence over the random swearing, to be honest.
Yes. Or other,
because I think it's unfortunate, because Star Trek's always been a very full family show. I feel like pretty much majority of all Star Trek, you could pretty much say is almost all ages. I mean, because if you're below an age, it's almost over your head. And once you've hit an age, you could watch it. And new Star Trek, unfortunately, has been pushed into the swear words and stuff like that. And the opening scene, I felt bad for... We'll cover this again on the next review, our actual review of the episode. But I actually felt bad for the actor who wasn't brought back. And so... But his death scene was very violent. And I would say that it was more...
It was shocking.
Was more... I mean, it wasn't so bad that I've never seen things worse. But it definitely went for like a shock value that and it didn't have meaning to it. So that's all I'm going to say on it without going too deep into it. Go ahead, Christopher, really fast.
Well, I'll put it on this way. Like, I think I've probably watched a little bit more horror genre, a few movies than you
I don't watch
have.
horror. Horror's the one I'll never do. Just so if people watching the channel, if you want horror reviews, I'll let Christopher or Philip do those reviews themselves.
I have no desire.
I'm not a horror guy.
If it's supernatural or spiritual, you don't got me there at all.
I'm just not a gore horror person. I just not my thing.
Because half the time they're poorly written, but even out of ones that I've watched in the level of like, because admittedly I've never really watched Saw. I never really was anyone who was into like the torture, the pain stuff on that. But I don't think I've actually ever seen a movie that did a full... Spoiler again, but to actually show fully them pulling out the eye and still having it connected into the back there.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff.
I mean, that was pretty.
But they actually didn't show it. The actual part would be the cringiest moment.
Would be
actually penetrating the flesh and pulling out. They don't show. They show before and they show after.
I know, but they still have
the actual moment.
But still
that
having
is the cringe would be the.
It's connected. When they have it connected and he has it actually.
Yeah, but you see servos and crap like that.
Yeah,
like,
but so that's all.
I'm just saying.
We'll rant on that
for
more.
Me, it was.
Yeah,
it was definitely
do that
shocking.
next time. Well, I'm just going to go over a couple quick points.
Yeah.
The dialogue's terrible.
Yes.
Which doesn't explain. I mean, things like, well, what are you reading? A book about the existential pain of living with the conscious death and how it defines us as human beings. I'm like, folks, I went out of my way to go back 5 seconds and record it because it was so bad. I mean, there's little moments like that where you hear that and you're like, oh, I swear. What? People, it's just never. People don't. Also, I thought it was really funny when after he killed the Romulan senator, he kind of does a what was it? Kind of like a what is that movie you like, Shepard? Veritas something, whatever.
Wait, Veritas? You mean Boondock?
Yeah. Don't they like give a little mini prayer over someone that they've killed?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and it also happens in
They do,
Assassin's
no
Creed.
they do that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that would. Well, that's why I thought it was super funny because he's like, blah, 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 and he tells him, "I regret your choice," and you can tell that's kind of like a ritualistic thing to say at the death of probably one of their own.
You know what? I thought
funny
more of like,
because he says it in English.
I thought more of like Assassin's Creed, like the second one. You know, wherever Ezio kills.
Yeah,
somebody,
he kills somebody. He's like, oh,
the Requiescat in Pace.
Right, and that was kind of the vibe I got. Like, oh, I had to kill one of my own, therefore.
Admittedly, I do kind of like I said, there's something about the Elrond character that I'm like Elrond, that I actually am like.
Well,
like you said,
his sword is too short. His sword is too short to be useful because it has no reach. Someone's going to shoot you long before they get to you.
It's just as long as Legolas is, Philip. It's perfect for the lore. What are you talking about? I don't know. Come on.
Right. Hey, this is Lord of the Rings, right? Also, they've changed his character from obnoxiously emotional. I mean, the whole scene where... Yeah, the whole scene where he gives Picard bread, and Picard's like, no, I don't want any. And he's like, you don't like my bread? And he slams it on the ground. I'm like, isn't this guy like 20? Are you kidding me?
He's being rebuffed by his father figure.
He asks him, did you ever miss me? Like,
I mean, I'm okay with that. There was like a bonding thing.
It wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a problem if there was character development.
It's so pathetic.
No, it shouldn't have been a problem.
There's no character development before, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, that's it. They're squeezing in massive amounts of story. They continuously compress huge amounts of events into little things where all these other people in the elven tribe that were around him should have been like, yeah, so you know how we are going to help us? Well, he tried to save us, the Federation thing, and dissolved, and he's no longer part of the Federation, blah, 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 blah. And again, it's odd that...
Aren't they the people of absolute Candor?
Right.
Shouldn't they have been,
and also,
candid about the situation to him?
And also, for some reason, subspace communication now is doesn't exist in this version of the Federation.
Nope. Can't Skype each other.
Because, reasons.
But and then the touch on...
Go ahead.
Then I'll let you guys continue. Touch on Christopher's world building. I agree. First of all, now there's smugglers and warlords. And you're like, this isn't Star Wars. Okay. And this is to jump on Joel's discussion of they don't understand time and space, which is something that I put in there myself, not in regards to the explosion. Do you realize what it requires to have warlords and drug runners and stuff like that? Speed. But the universe that we exist in, they take the laws of warp a little more seriously than Star Wars. I mean, you can travel from one side of the galaxy to the other in an hour, or let's say a few days, right? Right. Well, we know you can't do that in Star Trek. Right. They're a little bit more realistic on their faster than light travel. So to actually be able to have warlords and all that stuff, it requires a small space. You can have a warlord within a solar system, but you can't have it within many.
Right.
Because the ability to transport quickly and be able to vitalize resources very quickly doesn't happen. It would be impossible to have enough control without having a dense population of those characters around. You can't do that. And then the last thing I was just going to say for the world building, Picard doesn't understand. He doesn't understand how the swords can be joined. The sword joins to the quest. Because he's like, how do we do this? What happens? And he's like, he explains it to him. You tell me your story, and I decide if I want to do it. On the other hand, when he gets all butthurt with Elrond Jr., it's amazing how he knows that he can order him around and tell him how to act and how to behave if he's joined his sword to his quest. And I put in there, it's funny how he doesn't know the basics, but yet the little minutia, he's spot on. It's like the equivalent of, oh, I didn't know Wookiees did life debts, but now that I know, I can tell you what to do and everything to say. And you're like, wait a minute, you didn't even know it existed, but now all of a sudden you know all the rules.
Make sure you bow 3 times to seal the deal.
Exactly.
Wow. What? Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that's fine. I just assumed that was kind of the built-in like, oh, you follow my orders, come your thing.
And one last dialogue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thing. The sister says the joke, "I'll give your seed a week." Because he goes, I planted. He goes,
okay, that's funny.
I planted the seed, and she walks out. She goes, I'll give you a seed a week, and I'm like, yes, He did plant the seed. It's so true.
That's funny. I didn't think of that.
I mean, I was like, did you guys write that and not like? Did it really not ring that
No,
the
they-
over-sexualized sister is making comments like that? Come
I'm pretty
on.
sure.
have a
I'm
point
pretty
to be
sure
made
there
on
were
that,
two-
though,
I think
'cause-
there's. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say one point.
Christopher.
Not this. Just remember though that this episode.
Plant seed.
I know he didn't write it, and I know that sometimes directors don't have it, but this was directed by Jonathan Frakes. This
know,
was
I saw
directed by Riker.
You
this
know,
one
actually, here's the
and
thing.
the next episode.
Here's the thing, though, on that. I'm actually, like I said, I did notice that, and I was, well, again, we don't know what's hacked down for the editing floor in these things, because you can tell in the editing this one's pretty rough. And Jonathan Frakes actually directed First Contact.
Yeah.
So he's a good.
I know he can do it.
He can definitely do
like
it.
I said, seeing his name at first, I went.
I have to wonder if there's a little bit of a. I'd call this the corporate side of it, where I feel like did direct it, but he was more the on.
He didn't write it.
Yeah, he didn't write it,
Right,
and he was
right.
on set director, and probably dealt very little with any reshoots
Creative.
/ things, and also anything that involved editing cuts. Because these episodes are pretty short. I mean, they fly by. I mean, I'll be honest. I watched 2 in a row, and it was somewhat painful to watch 2 in a row. But at the same time, they're so short. Like, they actually are kind of short episodes, and they go so fast because the editing is so fast in them at the same level. Like, nothing happens in these, but they go fast. It's kind of this weird paradox of them being boring, but things happening. But at least, I don't know. Like I said,
I think that's what torture feels like.
there's this weird paradox with the story episodes. And like I said, we still haven't gotten very far in the story, and things are just slowly happening. And we won't get into spoilers for the next episode because we're talking about that.
But I was so right.
Yes, things are right. So I think I want to wrap this one up today. Any last sentences? I think we're all pretty good. Talked out, ranted out. Feel pretty good.
I'm looking forward to the sister brother sex scene. It's
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
mean,
be
you
steaming.
can't tease us for 3 episodes
Right.
and then not do it.
Chekhov's gun, man. You can't have her literally do bondage to him in her bondage outfit and not bring it full circle.
Seriously.
She
And
really
I'm
wasn't a
sorry, too.
bondage, but she was literally in
just
a
rude.
bondage style outfit.
Yes.
he
Oh
gets-
yeah.
Full on leather.
He gets-
I was like, costume choices. Like, what is she wearing? Like, legitimately, I think it's kind of
It
hilarious.
was her tactical lingerie.
Like, it's kind of funny that this is kind of we're except on the review part we're done, but it is kind of funny in the society stuff where you see these like backlash in the Twitter sphere, the Twitter toilet, and
Ooh, I like that.
Twitter toilet, right?
Twitter
And,
toilet, that's
the
awesome.
bowl, the Twitter bowl, and
Seriously.
you get backlash on toys saying they're too sexy and stuff, like of like the Voltron style toys that are like the characters, and then you have a character that literally doesn't
Walks
need
around as an what is that? MDSDS or
BDSM.
Yeah, BDSM.
yeah, like a
outfit.
matron type thing.
Yeah.
And you don't need. Why is she wearing that? Again, of all the things that they put her into, they're like, we need you to be in leather. Yeah, leather. And you're like, what? And I don't find anything attractive of the character. Like,
Does leather hold an odor?
Cows.
I'm just
yeah. So
curious.
This is
That's
Robin. Wait. I
our-
have a question for
yes,
Philip.
go ahead.
Actually, to that point. So, Philip, for that scene where it's a little bit on, kind of maybe a sense of like fighting.
Yeah.
That scene where she does grab him from behind and chokes him. That is not a plausible position for her to have the upper hand.
Oh,
right?
absolutely not. That's
Okay.
yeah.
Because I was
Yeah.
sitting there going, I was like, when he's like, oh, I'm like, all you have to do is
I
go
think he was just
elbow back into
I think
her.
he was just enjoying it and just
I
pretending.
think so. He's like
It's really fun.
This is kind of hot, but I don't want you
he's
to
like,
stop.
wait, where's the reach around? You can't stop without the reach
Yeah,
around.
I'm pretty sure. I
No,
don't.
of course not, Christopher. Because her arm's bent. It's not even an issue of punching her in the hip. Imagine you're putting yourself in a weak position, grabbing around like this, around somebody. All you need to do is grab her hand and push out. I mean, it wouldn't even require that much work.
I mean, that's why I wanted to have the
Yeah.
question because I remember looking at that scene going,
I just viewed it as
Especially
he
'cause he's
wasn't
just so,
fighting
like-
back on it. He just
Yeah, because he's like, do I want this? Yeah,
he's
I'm
like
up for round 2.
he's
Yeah.
like, round 2? Hey!
yeah. That's how I felt in that. I thought it was
already went down the Android category. Let's go down the sibling category. Sibling BDSM.
They are totally hinting at it. Like they don't. Like I said, we are mocking it. We don't want that in the story. We're mocking it because it's been pushed.
But they're
like,
totally gonna pork.
Yeah, they're doing it so
Totally
annoying.
gonna pork.
So
I was gonna sing that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's-
Gonna pork. It's so true.
So that's our review for episode 4, which feels like way more. I don't know why, but we have a lot more to come. We'll be doing our episode 5 review.
So do the siblings, Joel. Oh, sorry.
Come on back for tomorrow's episode, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
See ya.